The horrifying attack in North Vancouver has left the community trying to process what happened. It has also led to an outpouring of grief and a growing memorial. We'll have more on that in a moment, but first, the suspect in the deadly mass stabbing has now been charged. Imad Igahi begins our live coverage from the scene of the tragedy in Lynn Valley. Imad.
Well, Colleen, perhaps what we're seeing now is the first steps in a long road towards justice for the victims and their families, and perhaps what we're going to see next is a recovery for this community that has been quite shaken up over the last 24 hours. Grace will have a lot more to say about that coming up, but as you've mentioned, the news of today is that police have identified the suspect. Tonight, North Vancouver is still bleeding.
We were all stricken by sadness, trepidation, and fear.
It's hard to see something like that happen here.
The more than 24 hours have not been enough time to process the horrific details of what happened here at the Lynn Valley Library, where Saturday police say a lone knife-wielding attacker stabbed and injured 6 people at random, killing the 7th, a woman in her late 20s.
Why exactly would drive somebody to do what they did this afternoon? That is going to be the number one question for us.
In the early afternoon, this boy was getting his mom a coffee when he came face to face with the suspect.
When I was on my way home, I saw this guy on the middle of the street, and then he had this very big knife on him. I kind of walked back to a person who I trusted, and then I was like, I'm feeling kind of scared. What should I do?
Other witnesses are now describing some of the heroism that may have saved more lives. In those very moments, 2 men stood in front of a murderer and lured him away from others. This witness writes on Twitter, a woman ran ahead shouting warnings to pedestrians. Tonight, there's also new video of the alleged suspect in the moments leading up to this chilling and dramatic police takedown. Homicide investigators are also identifying the attacker as 28-year-old Yannick Bandaugo, who is now facing a charge of second-degree murder. A couple of more things. Police have said that the suspect has undergone surgery for self-inflicted wounds that he may have suffered prior to his arrest. We also now know that 6 victims that were taken to hospital from this scene yesterday afternoon had what police are describing as non-life-threatening injuries, and also that the investigators working on this case are promising a significant update at a press conference scheduled for tomorrow morning. Colleen, back to you.
Imad, thank you. There has been a steady outpouring of grief and support from people in the community where Saturday's tragic events occurred. Grace Key is live with that part of the story. And Grace, the large memorial behind you has been growing since this morning.
Incredible. We first arrived here at about 9 o'clock this morning when there were just a few handful of flowers, but take a look at it now. It really is such an incredible sight to see more people dropping off flowers. There's been a steady stream all day of people showing up here at Lynn Valley Village.
How could this happen in a place like Lynn Valley?
Throughout the day, people dropped off flowers, and children placed handmade cards in front of the Lynn Valley Library, the start of Saturday's mass stabbing. They stood in silence as their thoughts went out to a life lost and all those affected in this horrific event.
But I just wanted to show my support, because I'm really sorry about it all. You just wouldn't expect it. You just don't expect it in Lynn Valley. I hope you guys get through this, and Lynn Valley's thinking of you, and Lynn Valley's very strong.
For the Lynn Valley community, a sense of security has now been lost as neighbors grapple to understand how this senseless tragedy could have occurred.
We brought down a sign that my wife made, and it just says Lynn Valley Strong. And I think that is going to be so important that we come together as a community in a positive way now.
District of North Vancouver Mayor Mike Little says it will take time for the community to heal. For now, his thoughts are with all those affected.
On behalf of the District of North Vancouver Council, just want to express our deep regret and sorrow for your losses and for the impacts on your family. This is going to impact our whole community, but there's no question that the family and loved ones of the victims are going to be the most deeply impacted, and so our heart and thoughts are with you.
Public Safety Minister Mike Farnworth also expressing his thoughts for the victims.
It's absolutely just devastating that something this horrific has happened. I mean, it's just an awful, awful tragedy, and I think, like all British Columbians, our hearts and our hopes go out to the victims and their families at what is absolutely just an absolutely terrible time.
In a show of solidarity, all 3 North Shore mayors came together to lay wreaths at the growing memorial site.